5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter Show, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. We have a great show for you today, and as always, if you want to call in and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857, and we're going to be here till about 9 o'clock tonight. Hard out at 9 o'clock, as a matter of fact. Beeb, what is tonight?
Game of Thrones, baby!
Oh, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones tonight, so we are out of here at 9 o'clock.
The final season, everybody.
That's it. Robert, do you watch that show?
Yes, it's a hell of a show.
All right, Robert, I'm just saying I don't know, but if I could play devil's advocate here for a minute, why don't you tell me how those White Walkers got the dragon out of the lake?
If I knew that answer, I'd be making more money than what I do, Eric.
There it is. I'm telling you, that's where the show jumped the shark. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, that dragon had to be at the bottom of the ocean.
He had to be at the bottom of the lake, no?
That was a lake, right? So he had to be at the bottom of the lake.
Bottom of it.
And they don't have submarines back in those days, so there's no way they were going to get him out of there.
So they could, look, I mean, hey, listen, let's suspend reality for a minute and say, okay, well, they dipped it, they dipped the chain down there. How did they hook him so perfect? All right. They couldn't. The White Walkers. They don't go near water. Remember, those guys were on the island. They couldn't cross. They can't get. They can't go in the water. I don't know, man. Hey, listen to me. It's suspect. All right. It's suspect. All right. Anyway, today we're going to talk about. We already talked about Game of Thrones, but today we're going to talk about Terence Crawford versus Amir Khan. We'll preview the big fight and something else I'm forgetting. Oh, I got it. Did I mention we got Skype? Did I mention that, Beeb? Did I mention that?
We got Skype, man.
We got Skype.
Skype is in the house, people.
Skype's in the house.
Skype. Eric, when are you getting Skype? We got it, son. That's how I'm living.
It was the easiest thing to figure out.
On the radio.
Robbie, please.
We're going to have a drinking game. I mean, every time something goes wrong here.
I mean, for Christ's sakes, Robbie.
Beeb, she forgot what time it was, okay?
This is beautiful.
For crying out loud.
We're going to bring Robbie's mom on the show, man. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, put her on.
Love it. I love it. You know what? It's funny. I love when those things happen. I love when, those interruptions happen. It's just funny.
I don't.
Why not, man? It's funny. It's awesome. Anyway, go to Skype. Use Ringside Reporter to connect. And there you go. It's pretty easy. But first, we're going to get started with Showtime. Claressa Shields versus Christina Hammer. Shields wins a lopsided decision here by the scores of 98-92 and 98-91 twice. Hammer won the first round very easy. Looks like she was setting the tone for the fight, man. Her jab was effective. Shields just looked very passive. She honestly looked she was freezing under the lights, man. In the second round, though, everything went downhill for Hammer. Shields caught her with a right hand that looked like it stunned her early, and that was pretty much it, man. Shields came alive. She used her jab. She stayed busy and won every round from then on. If you saw round 2, you saw the fight. I was really surprised that Hammer did not go back to the jab, did not go back to what was working for her, and I think it has to do with the power. And I talked about it all week. I said that I thought that Shields was the bigger fighter in there, and I meant power, and I meant that she was going to go in there and bully her around, and that's what happened. I mean, that is what happened. Robert, talk me through this.
Yep. Well, what happened was once in the second round, once Shields started to go inside and be physical, as they pointed out on the broadcast last night, because Christina Hammer is from Europe and she fights the European style, she has no inside game. So if a fighter decides to go inside and fight with her on the inside, she doesn't know how to handle that. Because apparently, from what they were saying, she's never been taught how to deal with fighters going on the inside. I guess she's won most of her fights overseas by staying on the outside and using her superior size and height and reach and wearing people down that way. Well, Saturday night it didn't work that way. I mean, and the way Shields explained it after the fight, she said, "Look, I took the first round to see what she had to offer, and once I computed everything, in the second round, I knew what I could do. It reminded me, and I've compared her a lot because of the way she talks and stuff, to Floyd Mayweather. It reminded me of a Floyd Mayweather type performance because Floyd sometimes early in fights would take rounds and see what his opponents had to offer. Well, Shields did the same thing last night. She took the first round, didn't do much, paid attention to what Hammer was doing, and then from the second round on, basically took over the fight and dominated from then on.
Right. Yeah, I would agree, man. It was tough, man, because I really wanted Hammer to win, even though I took Shields in the fight. I really wanted Hammer to win. I mean, I really enjoyed her when she came on the show and everything like that. She seems like a nice enough person, and you root for people. I mean, you know them, you root for them or whatever, and I mean, it is what it is. But Beeb.
This is fucking horrible. It's time. First, I'm going to do this right now. I'm just so sick to have to fucking
get it out of the way.
I have to do this.
About the fight. You're not going to tell us about the fight. You're just going to be.
Let me get this out of the way, and then I'll talk about the fight.
All right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh fuck! I hate this.
That's weird. I got to be honest, man. When I get a pie, I get the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing.
There's people starving. There's people starving in China. I don't want to buy a whole pie and have to throw it out.
People starving in China. All of a sudden, you're a vegan now. Look at you. What's the matter with you? Shame. Shame.
Oh,
Shame.
God. Okay, so let's talk about this fight a little bit, because a lot of people are talking about power and they're talking about inside. But in my opinion, she didn't really start unleashing the power and the inside game until like the 6th round. Because from the second round on, she was actually out-finessing Christina Hammer. She was sidestepping Christina Hammer's jab. She was using a lot of head movement, and she was out-jabbing her. She was beating her from the outside, which was something that I could not fathom or even think that would be the case going into the fight beforehand. She was actually out-boxing her from the outside, out-slicking her from the outside, being a counter-puncher as well. And, once Christina Hammer, was getting frustrated, and once Christina Hammer tried to step it up a little bit in the 5th round, that's when Claressa Shields said, all right, you know what? She wants to bring it to me. I'm going to take it to her ass. And that's when she started being more aggressive, when Christina Hammer started coming forward, because Christina Hammer was trying to, fight on the perimeter, use movement from the outside, try to measure her with the jab. It wasn't working. So then, in the 5th round, she started stepping to her. So that's when Claressa Shields said, oh, she wants to step to me? Well, let's do this then. And that's when she started hurting Christina Hammer. That's when she started outworking her and out-muscling her on the inside. And that's when she started, sitting out of those clinches and freeing herself from those clinches and going to the body. There was a lot of wrinkles that Claressa Shields showed to her game last night. She was the most poised and relaxed and just cerebral that I've ever seen her. Like, she followed the game plan last night to a T. I mean, we've never seen this version of Claressa Shields that we saw last night ever before. And this was the one fight where I think she just put it all together. She relaxed. She was calm. she was very defensively responsible. She didn't rush the offense. She sat down on punches, and because she sat down on punches, and because she was patient and she was sitting down on them and throwing them properly and not rushing the combinations, she almost got Christina Hammer out of there in the 8th round. She was close to stopping her. And she made a great point at the end of the fight during the press conference. She was being interviewed, and she was talking about, she said the same thing I said last night, Eric. She says, we talk about how we want to get paid like the men. Well, we need to go with the 3-minute rounds, and we need to go with the 12-round fights in championship fights, because that way there's more time, and then I have more of an opportunity to knock people out. It's hard to knock someone out within a 2-minute time frame per round and 10 rounds. So she was saying that if the fight was a 12-round fight and they were 3-minute rounds, that she could have stopped her. And she was very, very close to stopping her in round 8. Let's make no mistake about that.
That round could have very easily been a 10-8 round.
Yeah, possibly too. So this was basically a Claressa Shields that showed everything. She checked off all the boxes last night. She did everything. She showed boxing ability. She showed movement. She showed poise. She showed defense. She showed head movement. She showed ring generalship. She showed power, and she showed her effective aggressiveness. She did every single conceivable thing that you could ask of a fighter. And John David Jackson seems to be doing a great job with her. And I just can't say enough about how great Claressa Shields looked. And I don't want to take anything away from Claressa Shields. Christina Hammer, was a 9-year champion or a 10-year champion, if I'm not mistaken. She was very dominant. She had a lot of experience. She had more knockouts than Claressa Shields had fights. So I'm going to take this fight last night and just say that this was a phenomenal performance, a phenomenal victory. And she's talking about being the greatest female boxer of all time. Well, I'm not going to say it right now, but maybe in a year or two she could be saying it, and people will be listening very closely when she says it.
Yeah, I would go along with that, man. I mean, she looked really good last night, and against a girl we know who was very tough, very good champion. Like you said, she's been a champion for quite a while. And there is something to what I had talked about, where I said, these ladies need to go to 3-minute rounds, and they need to go to 12-round championship, just like the guys. Because the more I think about it, why would I pay any money to watch a substandard product? Why would I pay for an inferior product? And you say, well, it's not inferior. Well, you're right. It's not. They're just as good. They're just as talented. But the way you do things lets me know that you think it's an inferior product. The fact that you don't think they can go 3 rounds, they're not as good. The fact that you don't think you can go 12 rounds because they're not as good and they're not as in shape. And I think that's nonsense. And you're selling these ladies short. They have a lot to offer, but they'll never get the fair shake. They'll never get the money if you don't let them play by the same rules. And if I were the women, this is what they need to go by. And when we asked Christina Hammer, she had said, well, those are the rules. I can't do anything about those. Right, but you want to make more money. You want to, that's what you have to do. This is really what you have to do to keep that going, because otherwise.
Well, Eric, I've been advocating for well over a year, whenever we've talked about women's boxing, that if women are going to be involved in the sport, they need to play under the same rules as the men. I mean, it's only fair, because she was talking about fighting Cecilia Breakhouse, and she wants it to be on pay-per-view. Okay, if you want a fight like that to be on pay-per-view, then you got to up the standard. You got to make it 36 minutes, 12 rounds, and fight under the same rules that everybody else fights under. Because if it stays at 20 minutes and only 10 rounds, not very many people are going to buy it.
Well, that's my point. I mean, again, you're putting out, you're telling me that you have an inferior product here, because you're going to get a fight, but it's not as good as the men. That's what amateurs fight, 2-minute rounds. These girls aren't amateurs.
No.
And Joel Lopez in the chat says that female boxing is not at the level of men's boxing.
It's not right now. That's true, but
it doesn't have the depth. Now listen to me. It doesn't have the depth as male boxing. but it is catching up. But again, man, you can't shortchange these ladies. They put together. Let's talk about the undercard for a minute. They put together a horrendous undercard.
Oh God, it was awful.
And my thoughts were, if they put together a good undercard, maybe this fight is bigger. If they put together a solid undercard, maybe the fight is bigger. Women have been headlining in the UFC for quite some time now. That's not uncommon to see two ladies fight in the UFC and headline a pay-per-view. Not uncommon at all. Why is boxing so late to the party? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And it's just this old school mentality.
That's what I was just going to say. Old school way of thinking.
Them back.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about, listen, everybody wants to make money at the end of the day. New clientele, new everything.
Yep.
I mean, clearly there's a, I'd be real curious to see what the ratings are for this. I thought it was hyped up pretty well, Yeah, when it says, but when you talk about Gonzalo Ayala says, but when you talk about an undercard, you talk about women also or a mix? No, a mix, just like the UFC does. They put guys as co-main. They put, they'll put the women as a headliner, a guy as a co-main, and then the card is, it's a good card. It just is.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. For those of you that follow professional wrestling, when they had WrestleMania last week, wasn't there 2 women headlining the whole card?
Yeah, it was 3. It was, what was it, Rousey? You said Rousey, Lynch, and...
Charlotte Flair or something?
Yeah, that's it. So there were 3.
I mean, yeah. So boxing needs to catch up to everybody else.
Did you buy that, Robbie?
No.
Yes, you did. I'm checking the receipt. I'm checking the bill. I'm checking your...
Now, in all seriousness, I used to buy the WrestleManias every year for several years.
Oh, I used to buy them too.
Yeah,
but
I think everybody did.
Yeah, but I haven't bought one in years.
You don't buy them anymore for your kids?
No.
What's that?
You don't buy them anymore for your kids? Do your kids follow wrestling?
Oh, no. We have the WWE Network that they watch.
And
they'll watch the pay-per-views and everything like that on there. They, yeah.
Do you have to pay extra for the pay-per-views on the network, or you have to just pay the net?
No, it's not like ESPN Plus. It's like $10 a month, and you get everything.
Even the pay-per-views, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What a deal that is, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like on ESPN Plus, now they have, the UFC is on there, and the UFC is on pay-per-view on there. So you can see, like, part of their stuff, but once it goes to pay-per-view, once it switches over at 10 o'clock, you got to buy it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, Claressa Shields was a big winner last night. Let's talk about other big winners, Beeb. Beeb, who picked Canelo over Amir Khan? Who picked Tony Bellew over David Hay?
That was your best pick.
Most recently, who picked Errol Spence over Mikey Garcia?
We all did that one, Eric. Come on.
Over Christina Hammer. No, we all didn't. No, we all didn't.
All chalk bets. All chalk bets.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I keep forgetting. Beeb picked Garcia.
That's right. That's right. Stay tuned, everybody, for my 4-star lock of the year coming up.
All chalk bets. Yeah, Eric the chalkboard Lorda.
The chalkboard. We can change that to Eric the winner. You understand what I'm saying? Because the bottom line is I'm the best going today. And Dwyer and all these other professional gamblers. Listen, the bottom line is if you want to win, you're coming down this territory. You understand? That's where you're coming out. You listen to Eric, he's going to take you to the promised land. You listen to anybody else, you're going into the toilet. You understand? That's the way it goes.
Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own.
Let me tell you what. That's what you and Dwyer said. The opinion you should follow should be mine because I never lose. You understand? That's the way it goes. That's the way it is.
The opinion you should follow should be your own. And just look at this as an opinion from a complete stranger online.
That might have been, it was funny. Leading into this week, because I thought it was going to be a pretty close fight, and I think everybody else did. I thought it was going to be a pretty close fight, and Beeb, of course, picks Hammer. I'm sorry, and sends me Dwyer online. Does he pick like all kinds of online games and stuff?
Dwyer went as far as calling Christina Hammer Muhammad Ali.
Oh my God!
I didn't do that. I didn't. At least I didn't do that.
The funny part about the video he sent, because Beeb, when Beeb, picks a fight and he's behind his fighter, he gives very good arguments on why they're going to win. Yeah, he gives really good arguments on why they're going to win. And then he sends me Dwyer's video, and Dwyer is like a lawyer. So he gave a really compelling argument. I didn't agree with it, but he gave a really good argument on why, Hammer was going to win. And to the point where I'm like, maybe she is going to win, maybe I shouldn't, But yeah, they were very good, man. But
Notorious BC just said Beeb picked both Garcia and Davis over Loma. Beeb has made some weird picks because of how PBC heavy the show has become. Why, Mikey Garcia can't beat Vasily Lomachenko? That's like a weird pick to pick Mikey Garcia over Lomachenko. That's a 50-50. Well, it's a 50-50 fight. I think Mikey's like. I think Mikey can still beat Lomachenko. Why not?
Well, why? Just because the show has become PBC heavy. What is that supposed to mean?
What does that mean? That's like.
Well, hey, we have to talk about the people that are fighting each week, and let's face it, most of the time we're talking about PBC cards because they're being active. What is anybody else doing?
Maybe it's because you're so anti-PBC. That's the question. Whenever someone says you're biased, they're usually biased on the opposite side. So it's like a friggin' it's hypocrisy, really. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, we try not to be biased at all.
I honestly, when I make bets, I bet like a gambler. I don't take fucking 10-1 underdogs. I look for value bets. If someone's like a 3-1 underdog or 2-1 underdog, and I think it's an even fight, then of course I'm gonna take that person. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I don't get that.
So no, it's just that you're anti-PBC. That's the thing. Like,
well, and it's not. I'm like, we're not anti any organization. I mean, as far as like PBC or Golden Boy or whoever. I mean, it doesn't matter to me as long as you're putting on fights.
Why is it ridiculous to think that Mikey Garcia can beat Vasily Lomachenko?
It's not.
Why is that ridiculous to think? If that fight opened up, it would be an even money fight with the odds makers.
Centurion.
Well, hopefully we get a chance to see that.
Okay, so Centurion Son just brought up a really good point. He says Garcia was 50-50 before Spence. Now he's not. Now he's really not. Now it's really not 50-50. And that's the thing. It's like it was 50-50. The Spence fight, Spence Garcia was 50-50. That's what everybody was saying. A lot of people favored Spence, but a lot of people were picking Garcia too. So it was a 50-50 fight. So you pick Garcia, but now we become PBC heavy. I don't understand that.
This is stupid. And then if you say anything about Wilder, you're a Wilder fanboy. But that's usually what Joshua fanboys call you. Only Joshua fanboys call people Wilder fanboys. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's craziness.
Americans root for Americans and British people root for British people. What's wrong with that? That's just fucking common sense. Like, why would Americans not vote for their own fighters? I don't understand that. Now, I picked Hammer. Hammer's not American. I thought she would win. Is she a PBC fighter?
And let's face it, we all picked Tyson Fury to beat Wilder.
I picked Tyson Fury to beat Wilder too. So it's just like, I don't know. You can criticize me if you want. You can make arguments, but you have to make legitimate points and legitimate arguments when you talk. You can't call me biased if you're biased. Because we're all biased, but at least I'm objective. I can be objective. You can't.
Right, I would agree with that. All right, let's talk about this undercard real quick. Sam Peter was he came back against let me see, what was his name here? Mario Heredia. Mario Heredia beat Sam Peter by a split decision by the scores of 77-74, 76-75, and 79-72. This was Sam Peter's big comeback, and it got derailed. I don't care how close the fight was. The bottom line is it probably shouldn't have been close at all. I've never been like a huge Sam Peter fan. I always thought he was pretty one-dimensional. He's just a big guy, But this pretty much derails that whole thing, that whole comeback trail, no?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's done.
I would say
He's
so.
Done.
Find something else to do, Sam.
Oh, how dare you? How dare you? You're so rude. So rude. All right, let's talk about ESPN Plus. Vasil Lomachenko versus Anthony $1 Million Crawler. Oh, man. This was tough to watch, man. I tell you what, because I'm a big Crawler fan. I like Crawler a lot. But Lomachenko knocked out Anthony Crawler in the 4th round on Friday night. Lomachenko looked amazing, man. Crawler couldn't get anything going. It was on the defensive the entire night. Lomachenko ended the fight in the 4th with a right hand to the temple. Crawler just crumpled to the mat. Now, Lomas thought he broke his hand on that, but his manager, Igis Klima, stated it was just a dislocated knuckle. He won't need surgery or anything. So, yeah, I mean,
wow,
he should be okay. And I read today that he looks to return in September. I'll tell you what was amazing is his footwork. Lomachenko was all over that ring, and we talked about we touched on this a little bit. Crawler's game plan coming in, to me, would be he would have to be the aggressor, kind of try to put Loma on the back foot, and you knew that would only last for so long because Loma's footwork is so good. Try to put Loma on the back foot, try to be aggressive, kind of get in his chest, try something. Man, he couldn't do anything. I mean, he couldn't do anything, and that was the tough part. I think that was the tough part, is that he could do nothing. And I don't know, man. I mean, it was a one-sided fight. I mean, Crawler didn't win 1 minute of any round here. Not one. What were your thoughts on this, Beeb?
I just thought no matter what Crawler did, it wasn't going to matter. He had, whatever game plan he had, Lomachenko was going to have an answer for it. He was in so deep in this fight, and it's sad. I mean, obviously, you get an opportunity to fight Lomachenko, you got to take it. It's a big money fight. It's a big opportunity. So, of course, you got to take it. But I don't know. I just think that there was no conceivable game plan that he could come up with that was going to take Lomachenko out of his game plan, because he wasn't going to be able to do what Salido did. And I think Lomachenko has improved since that Salido fight. I think he learned a lot from that Salido fight. And Crawler was bigger than Lomachenko, and pretty much all of his opponents have been bigger than him, and he's still been able to handle them with ease. So I think he's really starting to grow and develop as a fighter. Not that he already wasn't a great fighter when he first turned pro, but he's actually becoming better, and he's actually showing us different things each fight. And it's amazing that the one-punch knockout, that power that he possessed, because we've never seen that before from him in any other fight. So maybe that shoulder is back 100%. I think we've seen it with the body shot to Linares, but that was kind of a wearing down effect. But I mean, he displayed some really explosive power in this fight, and if this is just the tip of the iceberg right now for him, let's see what happens next, because he's going to need opponents. Like I'm sure Richard Comey will definitely put up a better, tougher test than Crawler did. But even then, is anyone going to pick him to beat Lomachenko? The Mikey Garcia fight really is the only fight that makes sense right now.
Yeah, I think who was the what's the guy you just said his name? I think the guy he wants to go to London and fight.
Luke Campbell, yeah.
Luke Campbell, and Luke Campbell's got a belt and everything like that. So I was looking at, and there was an article, I guess, early on this week, and Bob Arum said that everybody, I think, kind of took it out of context. Bob Arum said that he was not going to go and chase down Gervonta Davis. He was not going to go and chase him. If they wanted to make the fight, they need to contact them, because Gervonta doesn't have any belts. He doesn't have any belts at 135, and he's not even in the division. So if they want Lomachenko, they need to contact him. And you know what? I think he's right, and that's fine. But everybody, it's funny, man. I don't understand the hate against this guy. I got it. His last 7 fights. Let's do Gervonta Davis. His last 7 fights, he's 172 wins, 29 losses. His opponents combined, 172 and 29, which is very, very good. And he's also fought 3 former champs, so keep that in mind. Lomachenko's last 7 fights. I don't want to do like their first 7 or whatever because Gervonta Davis's his first 7 were not good. So Lomachenko's last 7 opponents, a combined total, 191 wins, 13 losses. That's insane.
Yeah.
6 of his last 7 fights have been against former champions. How is this? I don't understand, like, where the hate comes from with this. I just don't get it. He's fought 8 former champions. 8. I mean, why hate this guy? I don't understand, like, what, you know, what is it about this guy that brings it? This and Triple G, I think, bring out, like, the absolute worst in people.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand where this is coming from.
No, I don't either. Craziness. All right, let's go to the train wreck of the week, and thankfully, we don't have to hear Beeb's voice this week. We have Elena.
Chugga, 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 choo, choo.
Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
That's so much better.
That is so much better, isn't it, Robert? I mean, is that not better or what?
Yes.
I mean, that, you know, those voice lessons paying off. You know, Beeb, when he does it, just makes you sick. Absolutely sick.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
Stop.
Don't even think about it, Beeb.
I was getting ready to do it.
God. Just terrible. Oh. Anyway, ESPN is the train wreck of the week this week, man. They're announcing, and all right, so Tim Bradley needs to go. We're going to start here. Tim Bradley's got to go. You can tell when he talks he hates Lomachenko. All right, you can tell. And it's almost like, you know, he feels like when he's up there with Andre Ward, tell me if I'm wrong here, but it's almost like he tries to stand out more. He tries to get more attention. I honestly, I don't know. But to me, I think he's like kind of threatened by Ward in the sense that Ward's a better commentator. I think he knows that. I think that some of the stuff that Tim Bradley comes up with is just nonsense. He even alluded to the fact that I don't even have the exact words because I was just like, you got to be kidding me, and I wasn't going to go back to find it. But the exact words. But he had said something about Lomachenko not being as good or Crawler not being as good. Then he said during the fight that Crawler's not trying. Son, you get in the ring with him. You let me know. Let me tell you what, I've seen a lot of Crawler's fights. One thing you cannot accuse Crawler of is not trying. And he was definitely trying in that fight. He couldn't get off.
And I'm surprised Tim Bradley talks like this. Like you hear fans say, well, he's just got to let his hands go. Like Ray Mancini, he's another one. Oh, he's got to move forward. He's just got to let his hands go. Well, yeah. Ray, what about when you fought Héctor Camacho and you were trying to move forward and you were trying to let your hands go? But guess what? Héctor Camacho kept moving on you, and you had to keep resetting your feet, and you were like 10 steps behind him all night. Why didn't you let your hands go in that fight, Ray? Because your opponent was doing things to not allow you to let your hands go, to not allow you to move forward. So when you're stepping forward, you're getting counterpunched. Like, I hate when people try to dummy down this sport. Like, you just move forward and throw punches. That's all you got to do. Like, it's rock and sock from robots. It's a bar fight. Yeah. And your opponent is just going to just stand there like a punching bag and allow you to do all these things. Tim Bradley should know better. He's a technical fighter. He was a really good boxer. Like, Andre Ward is never like that. Like, he tells it like it is because he's a cerebral mind. Like, Tim Bradley is just looking for shock value. He's trying to be like a Howard Stern up there and be controversial and be a loudmouth now. And that's not what it's about. Like, Andre Ward is just he's great behind the mic. He's just very analytical. And I love what he said to Kriegel when he was saying, oh, well, now, here's another stupid argument that they were making. Because they were comparing Crawler to Khan. Now, what do you mean? What do you mean there's pressure on Crawford to do to Khan what Lomachenko did to Krella? Khan is, with all due respect to Krella, Khan is a 10 times better fighter than Krella, with all due respect. He's done way more in the sport. He's an outstanding boxer. So to think that fight is going to be as one-sided as this fight was this week is ridiculous. So why even bring that up? That was a horrible comparison. And Andre Ward checked him. It's like, why we have to make excuses now? Like, why are we trying to make concessions? Why not just let them both do their thing and whatever happens, happens?
Right.
Max Kellerman, he's so aggravating when he comes up with these dummy graphic statistics of his.
Right.
It's just so stupid. The whole commentary team, with the exception of Andre Ward, are horrible. All of them.
They need to get rid of Kriegel. They need to get rid of Tim Bradley. Tim Bradley sucks. I mean, I can't even.
Kriegel is disgusting. He's really bad.
Yeah.
And Joe Tessitore is just he's just a goofball.
I don't mind Joe Tessitore. I can keep him. I mean,
I can tolerate him, but he's just a goofball.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, like I said, man, I mean, Bradley does stuff to try to stand out. Remember, a couple of weeks ago where he took money out and started throwing it around?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that when he did that.
What are you doing, dude?
And just keep this in mind, folks. These are the people that we're paying money to next Saturday night to watch Terence Crawford and Amir Khan. And these are the voices you're going to have to hear all night long.
Yeah. Slapnuts in the chat says, Eric, you look smart in those glasses. Thank you, sir. All right, let me go to the other portion of the train wreck of the week, which was the ESPN camera, the new cam, the bow tie camera. Seriously?
Jesus Christ.
The bow tie camera. All right, I can't even make this up. So what they did was they put Jack Reese had a bow tie on, and they have a camera right in the middle of the bow tie. I mean, clearly it's clear to see. It's not like it's hidden or anything. So he had a camera around his neck. Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but that is not the best vantage point you're going to get. All right? It's not a good vantage point at all. I mean, it's a bad vantage point.
You get to look at other people's necks. Right.
Not to mention that it was just a bad angle to begin with. The camera sucked. The resolution on the camera was terrible. I mean,
Wasn't it?
Absolutely terrible. Yeah. You look at it and it's just it's just bad camera work. We're like, what are you doing?
Why would Jack agree to wear such a thing?
Probably because he's getting paid. I'd agree to wear it if I was getting paid. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Wear anything if I'm getting paid. But yeah, I mean, do you remember like in PBC? Wasn't it PBC where they had the little head cams on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those weren't bad.
No, those weren't bad, but they were unnecessary, and that's why they got rid of them, because they were unnecessary.
They were corny.
Didn't need them.
Looked like a freaking coal miner in the ring.
Now Wood in the chat says, speaking of Reese, where did the 8 count come from? I think that was in the 4th round, if I'm not mistaken.
Third.
Third. That was stupid. He should have just stopped the fight. It was freaking so stupid to let that go on at that point.
Yeah, but I think he bent down and the middle rope held him up or something like that. I think that's what they counted.
Yeah, but
to me, he clearly motioned that it was going to be an 8 count.
Well, to me, it looked like he waved the fight off because he's sitting there going like this with his arms, waving his arms. It looked like he waved the fight off.
And then the commissioners, it looks like the commissioners of security, somebody was in the ring. And I'm like, what are you doing? You know, and like this fight's still going on. And you're right, they could have stopped the fight at that point because Crawler was just getting murked in there. I mean, there was no two ways about it. He was having a rough time with Lomachenko. I mean, you know, where do you think that, and you know, Teofimo wants to fight Lomachenko? I tell you what, man, I don't know that you do. And that kid is 12 fights in?
Yep.
Oh no, man. And I like Teofimo a lot. I mean,
but here's the question.
Guy.
But here's the question you got to ask yourself: would he do any worse than these other guys are doing?
Well, maybe not. But what could happen is he could ruin his career. Is what could happen. I mean, you know yourself, after one big loss like that.
Yeah. So
you could have a problem.
So after 12 fights, we don't think he's reached his full potential yet, basically.
No. Why would I mean...
So basically, the opinion is he's going to get much better than what he is right now.
Yes.
Now he didn't have that. He didn't have that extensive amateur career that Lomachenko had.
Right.
No.
So that's a difference. Okay, that's a fair argument, I guess.
And Wood in the chat says he thought I saw Comey Lopez's neck is set. Richard Comey and Teofimo Lopez. No, that fight is not set yet. It's not official, but that looks like the route they may go. And who was it? I think was it Mark last night had said that that would be the route they're probably going to go, is that Comey versus Teofimo. Teofimo, obviously should win that fight. Maybe he wins that fight. Who knows? Comey's not like a gimme, but he goes ahead and wins that fight, and then Lomachenko beats who's the English guy again? What's his name?
Campbell.
Luke Campbell.
Beats Luke Campbell, and then I can't remember his name.
Luke Campbell's a pretty good fighter, though.
He's a very good fighter. He's a very school fighter.
I thought he actually that was a razor close fight what he had with Linares there.
Yes, it was very close.
Oh yeah. But and then those two guys meet, and then that's how they set up the Lopez and Lopez fight. So Lopez Lomachenko. That's a good fight. Listen, it's a good fight. I just don't want to see them rush Teofimo, though. That's my only problem. I don't want to see him get rushed.
So if you're managing Teofimo Lopez right now, you're pumping the brakes.
100%, yeah.
Now is Richard Comey too big of a step at this point too, or would you wait on that?
No. I think he beats Comey. Yeah, I think he beats Comey.
Beats Comey?
If I had my druthers, he beats Comey and then he moves up
to 140, right?
Yep, beats Comey and then he moves up.
I mean, he's 5'8". He's pretty big. He's decent size. He's like Crawford's height.
Because the guys in the Super Series, the World Boxing Super Series, I tell you what, man, those are good matchups anywhere you go. And I would favor Lopez in any one of those matchups. Maybe with the exception of why am I forgetting British guys tonight? Who's the guy in the series, the favorite in the series? What's his name, guys?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. They're
the only one I can think of is Regis Prograde, but he's not British.
the other guy there. Oh, the fuck is his name? My God.
Help me out in the chat. Who is it?
140 guy, the British guy.
140.
Not Prograde's the other guy.
Not Prograde's the other guy. The
other guy.
Irish guy or the British guy?
Yeah, Taylor.
Yeah.
Oh, Josh Taylor.
Josh Taylor. I can't believe I forgot his name. I don't know why I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Because we have Skype, Eric, all of a sudden you've developed a UK block.
That's right. That's it.
Please, Robbie. That Comey fight for Teofimo is not a walk in the park either, to be honest.
No, Richard Comey gave Robert Easter fits.
Yeah, I thought he won.
Yeah.
I thought he won the fight.
He's from Ohio.
I don't care. I'm from Beantown, baby. Four corners, stand up. Four corners, stand up.
Did you say? The hood is with me.
Remember that? That's hilarious. That was so fucking funny when you said that. The hood is with me.
All right, so let's go to DAZN here. Jaime Munguia versus Dennis Hogan. Munguia won a very controversial, easy for me to say, majority decision over Dennis Hogan by the scores of 115-113, 116-112, and 114-114. I had the fight 8-4 for Hogan. I thought he landed the harder, the cleaner shots. I thought he clearly outboxed Munguia. That being said, Munguia was a champion. Munguia was fighting in Mexico. Munguia was the house fighter. So, you put that all together. Beeb, what were your thoughts on this fight?
I had Munguia edging it out. I thought this was a close fight. I thought that Hogan did go on that little run from rounds 8 through 11. I thought he clearly won the rounds 8, 9, 10, and 11. And then I gave him the fourth. Those first 3 rounds, I don't know what the commentators were watching, but they were acting like he was putting on a clinic those first 3 rounds. Here's the thing. Both guys were not landing any significant punches in the first 3 rounds. I thought that a lot of the shots that were landed by both men were kind of glancing blows. But, Hogan was being forced back. He was retreating. It wasn't like he was circling and walking Jaime Munguia into punches. He was being forced back straight. He wasn't circling, planting his feet, and then walking Munguia into shots. He was retreating. And then I thought he had a good fourth round. And then the 5th and 6th and 7th were kind of close too, but I still think he was being forced back. And Munguia was doing a lot of good body work, and he was throwing a pretty good right hand too. I thought he did some decent work early on. I thought his aggressiveness was probably winning him a lot of those earlier rounds. Now, you could argue maybe Hogan won of those first 3 rounds. Okay, then you have a draw. But the way the commentary team was talking about this fight, and this is the problem, because Hogan was such a big underdog. Obviously he overachieved because this was a razor-close fight. It was a 7-5 fight, in my opinion, or even a draw for Munguia, right? But the thing is this: because he was doing better than what was expected of him, he was given like freaking bonus points or something in there by this commentary team. They were crying robbery at the end of the fight. I mean, obviously, what was he, like a 50-1 underdog?
Yeah.
He was a huge underdog going in. And I get that. And all respect to him for putting up this effort. I mean, the fight possibly could anyway, or even a draw. I don't believe it. But this fight was close enough. You could make an argument either way, I thought. This was not a clear-cut decision from Hogan. The way they were talking about it was like he was schooling Munguia. No, in rounds 8 through 11, yeah, he was thoroughly outboxing Munguia. He was getting tired, too. Here's another thing, too. 154 is a bad idea because he was lean. Like, he was fully rehydrated last night, and he was, like, still cut up and lean and didn't have an ounce of fat on him. This guy probably walks around at least at 180, 185. And for him and he's 6 feet tall, for him to ask this guy to get down to 154 is ridiculous. You're going to end up ruining this kid by continuing to have him come down to 154. So that's what's been happening. We've been seeing a pattern of him fading later in fights and running out of gas. So now the argument becomes, okay, what do? You move him up and you put him in there against bigger punches like Golovkin, Jacobs, and Canelo? Okay, but it's better to lose to one of those guys than lose to a guy like Hogan. Because with all due respect to Hogan, I mean, he's a good fighter, but he's not an elite fighter. He's not like a Canelo or a Jacobs or a Golovkin. So Munguia is really not supposed to be losing to 50-1 underdogs. So if you're going to force him to go down to 154, he's going to end up losing to somebody he shouldn't be losing to, and that's going to really set him back a lot. At least if he loses to someone that's a top-level guy, you can kind of forgive him for that. You can excuse him and it can be acceptable, if he puts up a good account of himself. But to ask this guy to peel down to 154 with the frame that he has is ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I thought Sergio Mora was horrible. Like, he was like, they weren't even what was the other guy there? The guy Chris Mannix. He was the worst.
Yeah,
he was the worst. Like everything that Hogan did, he was like, oh, and they weren't even like. And I was watching Munguia land punches, and they weren't even saying that he was landing punches. Like, he was landing. I thought he was outworking Hogan early on. Now again, no one was landing clean flush shots in the beginning of the fight, and notwithstanding Hogan going on that little run, but Munguia won the 12th. I gave him the first 3 rounds. I gave Hogan the 4th, the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Now, if I give him one of those other earlier 3 rounds, then it's a draw. So this was not a robbery. I thought the broadcast team for the zone for this particular fight was horrible. They acted to me like they had the Hogan pom-poms going in, and they were giving this guy bonus points just because he was doing exceedingly better than was expected. Of course, he didn't fight like a 50-1 underdog, but just because he didn't fight like a 50-1 underdog,
Hey, Beeb, your sound is like going in and out, and I don't think it's anything that you're doing. I think it's something that is on the system here. Let me just take a look at things and let me make sure everything is good. So just give me a second here. I want to see if we can clear the sound.
I was able to hear him.
Robert, we're trying to clear the sound up. Jason says, "Tell Beeb to call back in, son. It doesn't work that way. Do you think if it was that? Don't you think
it doesn't work
was that easy that I would have told him to call back in?" Smack.
That was getting tagged. You guys listen when I talk. I just said.
Yeah, Beeb, I can't. Yeah, we can't hear you. Let's see here.
You hear Robert?
Yeah, I'm here.
You hear Robert?
All right, guys, just bear with me here. Robert, please. I'm trying to work here. All right, Beeb, will you do me a favor and say something, please? Yeah, it's still scrambled. Let's see here. All right. Give me 1 second here. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. It's Skype. It is the curse of Skype. Okay, Beeb, go ahead and talk, please. No, it's scrambled. All right, guys. Let's see here. We are. Let's go offline here for a minute, and then we'll see if we can pick it back up and resume. Okay. Try to go back here.